So, what are the few of the misconceptions that these industries are seeing in terms of integrating AI in their work processes?
With AI, I see a massive opportunity in everything. It is an assistant, but the human must be in the loop. Don't look at that human or AI, it is human and AI. There's no substitute of human discretion and empathy.
Welcome to Discover Dialogues Podcast, powered by TechDogs. The world of business and technology is evolving at breakneck speed. AI breakthroughs, digital transformation, and game changing innovations are reshaping industries every day. On this show, we dive into the trends, ideas, and strategies driving the future. We're sitting down with industry leaders, innovators, and disruptors to bring you fresh insights, bold perspectives, and real conversations that matter. So plug in, tune in, and let's discover what's next.
Today on the show, we're joined by Shadab Hussain, Director, Cloud and AI Specialist Sales at Microsoft. With over 2 decades of experience, Shadab has led AI and data transformations across healthcare, life sciences, retail, and media, helping enterprises move from silos to intelligent, AI-driven organizations. He also co-hosts the AI Files, exploring the fast-changing AI landscape. From strategy to leadership habits, his work blends technology with impact. Let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of Tech Dogs Discover Dialogues. Shadab, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
My pleasure as well. Thank you for having me, Nikhil.
And Shadab, before we dive into the world of AI and the enterprise transformation that this technology is helping to achieve, I would like to rewind the story a little bit into your journey and how has it shaped you, because I believe behind all the designations there's a journey that reveals how a leader is transformed, shaped, and evolved, right? So can you please walk us through your professional journey and how has it helped you till now?
Sure. You know, First of all, again, pleasure to be here and looking for a great conversation, Nikhil. Tech Dog is doing an amazing work, and I'm honored to be part of this episode. This story starts all the way back in the 90s and in Gwalior. It's a historic town in Madhya Pradesh, India, and where I'm actually born, brought up, and entirely educated before I moved out for my first job in Bangalore. So I would say my story will start in a cinema hall in Gwalior, and that was the time when this first time the movie Jurassic Park come out. And I saw the Jurassic Park movie and I was so impressed with all the computer graphics, right? Of course, this recreation of the dinosaur, etc. I was thrilled. And I was so impressed that I decided I must get into a computer related career, right? This is exactly the kind of possibility I want to actually achieve. And that's where I decided that I will go into the computer related career. And I went for the engineering. And after that, I chose a courseware as a post graduation for IT enabled MBA, which is basically in Indian Institute of Information Technology and Management, Gwalior. It's a reputed institute. It's a generally postgraduate institute. They have like the MBAs and the MS and the MTechs as well as the integrated MTech or the MBAs as well. And from there, I basically started my career in the IT services in Wipro when I joined in Bangalore, and I worked in Wipro in all different kind of roles, right? So from consulting, delivery, and the operations, and the go to market, etc. But primarily, my career has been around in the domains of data analytics and AI. And I was fortunate because sometimes you don't choose your streams, right? You are pre-assigned to those streams, and fortunately, I was assigned to the data and analytics stream in the company, and then that really actually inspired me because I've always liked the stories that the data tells, right? The stories that data tells and the impact it has on the organization. So that's where the story really started. And then I saw the different different revolutions that came out. We saw the IT, like the telephony, and then the internet, the mobility, the cloud, and the AI. And I've been always willing to ride the latest wave. So whenever I see that trend happening, I want to be part of that. And that's where really the crux is, that look for the trends on the horizon and see what excites you and prepare yourself for it. Settling for comfort can often be, not just monotonous, but dangerous to your career. And that's why I would say that, that's what I've been there. I've always been inspired by AI, similar to my journey where it started with Jurassic Park movie in a cinema hall. When I saw the impact of what AI can do, and that was back in 2010. I was consulting for Apple in Cupertino, California, and there was a project done using the AI algorithm. It was basically a priori algorithm to identify some fraud related activities based on the groupings of the elements that do not go together, and you identify them as an anomaly. And I was thrilled. I said, okay, this really seems to have a positive impact, right? There's so much you can do. And that's where I always was hooked on the AI and the power of the data analytics, etc. as well. And I continued my journey, and I evolved from there to cloud and AI, etc. And currently, I'm the director of cloud and AI at Microsoft, and based out of New Jersey. So that's where the journey is right now. That's where it has brought me, from that cinema hall in Gwalior to a city close to Princeton in New Jersey.
Shadab, that's a very interesting career span that you had, right from what inspired you, like a movie at Jurassic Park, at a cinema hall, to now being a director of AI and cloud at Microsoft. And plus, you also co host your own podcast called as AI Files, right? The AI Files.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's been a really great journey so far. So now let's shift the gears in terms of, because I can see you're at an intersection of the evolving AI space and enterprise adoption, right? And I believe in the highly regulated sectors, right, finance and healthcare, the adoption, business leaders are a little skeptical. They are also exploring, but there's also a skepticism in adopting these technologies, right? So my next question to you would be, what do you think is the most transformative yet underutilized opportunities for AI in complex and highly regulated ecosystems today?
And the way I will answer that, Nikhil, is
Mhm.
with AI, we have an unprecedented opportunity, right? Typically, technology comes around, and then you try to use it in parts and pieces, right? So, for example, it is not that with AI, we target certain bottlenecks of the process, or certain section, right? Or segments. With AI, you actually completely reinvent everything, right? That is the opportunity that we have had hand. Whether it's an insurance industry, or it's a life sciences industry, or the energy and utilities, these are highly regulated and complex industries.
Mhm.
You can actually completely reinvent the process, right? And that is the opportunity that we need to utilize. For example, I've worked with several life sciences company, and that in that industry,
Mhm.
and you see that a typical drug discovery process, right? The blockbuster drugs, etc. It could be anywhere 10 to 15 years in making, and no wonder that when people are actually currently
Mhm.
like perishing because of a certain disease, the cure is still not in sight, right? It takes time because it's just a complicated process. And the two parts, one is the science itself is complicated, right? Identifying a particular molecule and compound,
Mhm.
you start with thousands, and then you have to slowly eliminate the compound and molecule that don't work until you get down to a few, and then you start with your clinical trial. And that's where a lot of regulations come in place, right? And then now, because you're now dealing with the lives, And then, that itself is a huge process, number of years, etc. You have to recruit the patient. It's just so much.
Mm-hmm.
With AI, I see a massive opportunity in everything, right? It's a complete reinvention. It is possible that, rather than 10 years, we might be able to create the drugs now in just 1 year, right? And wouldn't that be fantastic?
Mm-hmm.
That is the opportunity that we have. And I'll give you an example. For example, like this year, Nobel Prize, if you remember, the Nobel Prize for chemistry, right, went to actually the AI. Nobel Prize for physics went to AI. Jeff Hinton, right, he got a Nobel Prize in physics for the machine learning and the deep learning process. Nobel Prize in chemistry went to DeepMind co-founder Demis Hassabis, right, for the protein folding algorithm, which was a massive problem. And that discovery, that invention will actually help create the drugs discovery much faster. So that is a massive opportunity we are looking at. Just yesterday we were actually talking about this, that the resistant antibacterial, the whole resistance about it to the antibiotics, etc., has become a massive problem. And with AI, you can actually identify and create new, less resistant antibiotics, right? So that is the kind of massive opportunity we have. We have literally the opportunity to save millions of lives, and in the shortest amount of span of the, that is what we are actually looking at. And then it comes to the regulation part of it, right? There is so much administrative burden, there's so many processes around it. But with AI, not only you can actually do that faster, with AI now we have an opportunity to, okay, let's relook at it. Because the fundamental process itself, like the drug discovery, right, the way we are going to discover the compound, the way we're going to do the trial, everything is going to change. Now there's an opportunity to also look at the regulation and make sure that it evolves to keep up with the time, and we are able to make sure that, for example, AI is not creating some spurious effect. The regulation has to catch that, but the regulation can also cut out any other overheads that it may have, right? So that is a massive opportunity I see in the most complex and the highly regulated industry. Typical, a common technology does not influence it, but AI has the power to completely reinvent that process.
For sure, Shadab, and like, for example, the use case that you spoke about, the drug discovery processes, in the clinical trials, it's very important because, as you said, there are a lot of people who are struggling with a lot of diseases and its impact. Let's say let's say cancer for that matter, right? People are waiting for that discovery, the drug discovery to happen since decades, but we are nowhere near to find the a solution to that disease. But I hope with the intersection of AI in these sectors, it helps people to find solutions for epidemics, pandemics, for something like cancer, right? But as you also stated, right, there are risks towards um, utilizing AI. So how do you suggest that business leaders try to create a balance between innovation without the regulation creating a burden, or hindering you know businesses or enterprises from innovating? So how can we create the perfect balance, where the risk do not overpower the opportunities and vice versa?
Yeah, that's a very good point, because I think one thing is very clear, that AI, like any other technology, is a tool, and every tool has, double-edged sword kind of character, right? So what can help you can also hurt someone else, right? With AI, of course, there are always nefarious players, right, who will always look to cut the corners, right, or they will look to create the, essentially the fakes, etc., whether it's a medicine or the process results or etc. So we need to be able to identify the frauds and the fakes in the process, which AI can actually. So AI is not only going to be a benefactor, AI can also be a malefactor, right? So we need to be able to, because AI is a tool which everybody can use, and we should be able to use AI to detect the harmful AI that has been included. We should be able to, for example, also evolve our processes and guideline, and all about this human training that needs to evolve as well, so that people can understand. Many times there is a lot of anxiety in the humans about using AI, right? So are people going to be comfortable when they are told that, okay, this thing has been developed with AI, right? With the help of AI. We if when we tell the positive story, they get excited, right? So that's important, right? Building a euphoria about the AI, telling this genuine stories about how it can help. There are so many stories. Like, for example, I'll tell you, one of the in the provider sector, right? In the provider sector, where basically the provider, which is a hospital, clinic, etc., they raise a request for prior authorization of surgeries, for example, right? The more the complex the surgery, the more the personalized that plan is, that it sometimes is difficult to get the approvals from the payers, which is the insurance company. And many times the declines happen, right? It's a major problem for the patient. That decline could literally mean life or death, right? And there is a beautiful story that came out on the NBC News, which I talked about in my podcast as well, where a person, she had to go through a surgery for the cancer, and then the insurance company kept declining. And then fed up after that, they actually engaged another company, a AI startup. What it does is it essentially helps the patients look into their policy documents, look at their authorization, etc., which is part of this whole regulation and complex processes, and frame the letter and the response based on the policy. Because look, you and I, who goes into the 100-page documents, right? And many times the corporates take advantage of it, right? Nobody reads those documents, nobody knows what it is. But with the use of AI, AI can do that job for you. So AI can be your advocate, right? So the corporates will use AI, but the patient should also learn to use AI, etc. And with that, they've crafted a response, and then they send it back to the insurance company, and within just a couple of days, approval came around, right? Which they were struggling for 9 months. So it's a beautiful story. And it's not just the only story. There's so many ways in which the AI can actually help all kind of players. AI can help you and I when we are dealing with the regulated industries like the healthcare and life sciences, for example, etc. as well. So I think that is what is important. But of course, there are harmful effects, and everybody has to make sure that we are using it responsibly. That's why the every company has to put AI safety guideline in place, and that has to be adhered to, because there are always people who are going to make misuse of it as well.
So, what are the few of the misconceptions that these industries are seeing in terms of integrating AI in their work processes?
I would say, many times the these companies and the corporates, etc., sometimes you see AI as a, okay, it's basically a tool which can do things for you. But that's not true, right? It is an assistant. Okay. um it is an assistant, but the human must be in the loop. Okay, and that human loop is extremely important, because I tell you, I use AI a lot in my work, right? From every day and everything that I do, I use AI. I use Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and Microsoft has so many different AI solutions, whether from framing an email, or updating a CRM record, or doing the discovery and research on my customer, right? Or finding an answer for the customer, or technical, right? Or identify what are the prospect opportunities, right? Being part of the sales team, etc. So we use AI so much, but you always need to make sure that there is a human loop, right? I cannot just simply say, Copilot, go ahead and respond to the customer. Sometimes the response are even faulty, right? I would say maybe one or two time out of 10, the response itself could be faulty. So I always double check, right? Open the citation links which it provides, and I try to look for it where it is. Now, okay, if the question is, if the human has to still do it, then what's the advantage of AI? No, but there is an advantage of AI. There is a certainly a productivity gain that you gain. Earlier, something that took me 1 hour might take me now just about 15 minutes or 10 minutes, right? Because I'm playing a different role. Now I'm not being a creator, I'm actually being an auditor, right? So, you know, that's what is very important. The human loop is extremely important. Don't just delegate everything to AI and assume. And people have made the mistake. Like there are some companies, what they did is they boldly claim, and probably to gain some popularity, etc., that okay, we are going to replace our contact center with AI and call center, and all the calls will be handled only by AI. Only after 6 months, having to say that okay, we are actually bringing back the human loop also. So don't look at that human or AI. It is human and AI. That's the most important thing.
To the part where you said that, the contact center experience, I believe whenever I'm interacting with the contact center and an AI is responding, I would always like to speak to a human, because after a point AI starts giving repetitive answers. It doesn't understand the context that I'm trying to put across, and at times it is not even able to understand how am I supposed to react to the customer. So I do truly understand and know.
There's no substitute of human discretion and empathy. Let's put it this way, right? There's no substitute for that.
But there's a lot of discussion that is happening, around will AI replace humans or augment them. Definitely it's going to enhance human processes, the way we work, the way we have been doing things. It is definitely going to work. But yes, the battle is going to be always a constant one in terms of
True.
will AI replace? Because any new technology, when computers came in, people were thinking about, oh, computers is going to replace humans. There are not going to be any jobs. With AI, there's again a similar kind of hype that's going around. But whenever there are discussions happening around AI, and its success, right? I believe the foundations lie in data, right? On the what data is being fed into the system, and especially highly regulated sectors, right, like healthcare, uh, pharmaceuticals, and all of those. I believe the data over there needs to be accurate, structured, and to the point so that AI does not hallucinate, right? And I believe that moving from data silos to making intelligent systems might sound great in theory, but when it comes to execution, a lot of enterprises are struggling in this, right? And I believe, Shadab, you've helped enterprises to move from data silos to developing, enterprise intelligent systems, right, which they can implement, right? So what is the most overlooked step in building an enterprise ready AI?
Great question. So, the I would say there are many documented reasons that I've seen. Like for example, in our experience, we know that the many times the teams actually ignore the value of understanding the data, right? Sometimes the data quality could be problem, sometimes the data ownership, who owns what, who will steward, that becomes a problem. Data becomes stale, and once the data itself is wrong, no matter how shiny object that you create, it could be a problem. Other times, it could be for example, it could be like the training change management is not in place and people do not adopt it. So there are several reasons. But one of the things that I would like to emphasize more, which is not often talked about, is a lot of the systems that are designed today are designed for past, not for the future. That is the biggest problem I feel, because when the systems are designed for past and not for future, they are not going to evolve. And as soon as you build them, you will start feeling that okay, they will become a legacy. And which happened, I have seen many implementations within 6 months. Okay, within 6 months the customer started saying, oh, I feel my system is already outdated. Why? Because the technology actually itself changed. When they made the decision of a technology, they considered the technology what was like gaining ground, but they did not understand what technology may look like 2 years from now, right? They did not pay that attention. And the other times you do not understand that okay, what kind of requirements may happen, right? What kind of future may happen. Did you consider that your company may acquire, right? And if they acquire a completely different platform, will that platform integrate in your system or not? And if it is not, that will create the silos, right? That's how the silos are created. Will you create a technology which does not integrate with the other technology, right? Or the requirements may change. Right now you're doing a lot of batch data analysis, etc., and then what if you have a requirement for real time analytics, right? Does your technology and platform support that? And if not, if you're going to create another system for the real time processing, that means again when you have to create a different process, different system, because your current system will not be able to evolve to satisfy that. That means again you are going to create silos, right? So the more system that you create, the more disparate technologies are, that's where the silos are created. So I would say that this is the biggest problem, and it's not easy to solve as well, I also admit, right? But that's where you need some smart consulting and the experienced people to understand, okay, what are the future requirement. When I used to do a lot of consulting, I would say I would consider three aspects of requirement, because requirements are extremely important. You design for requirements, you require design for goals, right? And don't design for the past. For example, if you're trying to build a new system today, you're not gonna don't design it for creating reports. Reports is the past. You design it to get the answers, to get the insights, to create the answer driven actions, right? For example, uh, people still design the system. Okay, I have like 1,000 reports and they are slow, so I'm going to design a new system so that the reports will be faster. Well, first of all, why do you need report, right? If I need an answer today, I don't go to search engine to get the blue links. I don't want the blue links. Blue links is a mean, is not the goal. I want an answer. And that's why you see the AI overview, AI mode, and Chat GPT and Copilot. Why are they becoming popular? Because they give you the answer. They don't give you the links. Same thing for the analytics and data foundation. Get me the answer. Don't give me the report. Okay, that's what is important. And that's why, my framework, when I used to do a lot of consulting and I still talk about this, I say, please put down your requirements in three columns. Okay, whatever you state, I said stated requirement, and that's what most people focus on. Like, what is the requirement, what is the use case, etc. That's where most people focus. I say that there should be another category called unstated. You got to figure out what is not stated so you don't miss those aspects. And third category would be future requirement. Have you considered what may happen in the future, right? How will you need a real time processing? Will you need How will you integrate? Let's say you build something in Azure, another company is acquired, or a partner you are working with has a platform in AWS. Does it integrate? If not, then you need to put those provisions in place. You need to design for future. It is often overlooked because of the time pressure and the price pressure. But what people don't understand is they are building the technical debt, and technical debts are more expensive.
Definitely, and I like your analogy and how you explain in terms of, what you can develop a system right now, thinking that it is a future ready system, but in 6 months, or with the pace with technology is developing in coming time, in 6 months or even 1 month, let's for that matter of fact, it can become obsolete because there's a new technology that is come into place, and that is ready to replace the older one. And yeah, so what brings down over here is that your three requirement focus of what do you need, for what is the requirement, what is the future requirement, will help businesses to have a future ready system. But that brings down to the again the same question that great transformations might fail when they don't have a great leadership, right? So the next segment that I'm be moving into will talk about how leadership, or the partner ecosystems can come together in terms of to ensure that there's a success in delivering the business outcomes that the tool or the technology is supposed to deliver. So, and you have worked across collaborations across customers, partners, and teams, right? So what's your approach to creating alliances that actually deliver business outcomes?
I think the most important part, because alliances mean you are going to have to involve different set of people, right? people outside your own boundaries where you share the same goals like
Mm-hmm.
others. But when you're building the alliances, when you're building the network, right, or you rather building an ecosystem of success, you need to look at what does everybody want from that. If there is a conflict of goals, you will not find success. And this is where often the mistakes are made. I cannot assume that what I want is what the others want in that ecosystem. I need to understand what is their motivation, what is their driver, what are they looking at from success. So I often ask my customer, okay, how do you define success, your success? And what would you like to do? What is your goal? Would you like to be on a stage with this success story? Let's do that. Let's build a memorable story that we can all reminisce when we are retired, right? So create those wonderful, because I think we all want to create those moments of pride. And you need to understand their motivation. Once people are motivated, okay, I feel that once you have triggered everybody and everybody is motivated towards the shared goals, or the shared vision in which everybody has a place in it and they get something out of it, then you don't need to worry, because everybody is going to work for their own dream. They're not going to work for your dream, they're going to work for their dream, right, their goals, and then the success will automatically happen. So I think it really comes down to making sure that everybody's aligned on what everybody wants. My goal could be different, my partner goal, alliance goal could be different, but as long as everybody's meeting their goals and recognize that, then you will find the success. That's all it is.
For sure. And like we've covered strategy till now, systems and leadership, right? But behind every AI leader is a human with quirks, routines, and weekend plans, right? So in the next segment, Shadab, I'm going to shift some gears, and we'll move to the rapid fire section that we have. This is a quick, casual, and fun section. I would request you not to overthink and give the first instance the answers that come to your mind. Whenever you're ready, I'll be happy to shoot them at you.
Okay, let's do that. Test me out.
So, are you an early bird or a night owl?
I used to be night owl, now I'm early bird.
Mountains, beaches, or city escapes? What's your ideal vacation look like?
I think I would prefer beaches.
Beaches, yes, it's the best place to go. so,
Can't go wrong with it.
exactly, So, do you prefer planning, or do you go with the flow?
I love planning, but I also consider that, you can plan in the flow as well. Planning doesn't always need to be long term. Planning could be just for the next day, right? So planning is absolutely important. It's not mutually exclusive. Plan could be in the flow as well.
If you had a superpower for one day, what it would be?
Okay. If I had a superpower for one day, I wish I could read people's mind so that I understand what their goals are and I can help them so that we can all help each other.
Definitely, that's great. A song that always lifts your mood.
It keeps changing, but I would say that you know the Queen's song, like "We Will Rock You," is always a good one. It inspires you. Yeah,
Coffee, tea, or neither.
I take both, but chai is something I would always prefer.
That's very Indian of you. Chai. We cannot survive without chais. What's the most unusual food combo that you secretly love?
Okay. Most unusual. Sometimes I would take something very cold and something hot. Like right after each other. It just gives a different taste of it. It triggers different palates in your mouth.
So, if you were not working in tech, what career would you have chose in a parallel universe?
Spiritual advisor.
That's great, Shadab. That brings us to the end of the episode. And it was a really interesting conversation that I had with you. Any parting words would you have for our audiences?
I would say, I think it is important. The world is moving towards AI, and I know it's unsettles a lot of people. There are a lot of anxieties, etc. Be part of the AI game. Don't fight this wave. Find your place in this wave, right? It is futile to fight this wave, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling that with all the not a, this is not a corporate speak, but I'm telling with being on the same side, right, as you all, that look, we need to find our place in this. There is a lot of goodness in this. Yes, there is a lot of harm, but hey, every technology has brought that. So it is not something unprecedented from that point of view. We all can find a way, and when people work together, everybody listen, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the corporates change their behavior. Corporates are always, to be honest, they are greedy, right? It is not the AI that could be, and there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, doubt around it. But I would say it's not about AI, it's a human greed. And the technology does amplify humans ambitions. That is what happened. AI can amplify human greeds, and people are just but hey, if people work together, they can change the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Tesla is a great example, right? People should come together, use AI for all the goodness that it provides. I've given some examples already, and it's not like, and there are harmful effects as well. You cannot stop it, but you can work together to actually fight it. And skill up, right? There are a lot of skilled people, but talk around, right? There
Mm-hmm.
are Tech Dog is a great source of information out there. That's why I also run my podcast, the AI Files, because we provide the weekly updates to everybody so that they can find out how they can use it for their career. And I always say, use AI to transform your career, company, and community. That is the potential that you have.
Thank you so much, Shadab, for sharing such grounded, actionable insights. I really like that one. Do not fight this wave. Find your place in this wave, so that we can work together with empathy towards achieving one goal and making our lives better. Our work press is better, and work process is always also efficient. So thank you so much, Shadab. It was a great having you on the show today.
Thank you, Nikhil. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, or your favorite podcast app. Catch past episodes and more at techdogs.com. See you next time.